Jay, and we've been talking about the Medusa all week long. And today on Future Friday, we consider anything to be, future, from the industrial age all the way into intergalactic societies and post-apocalyptic cyberpunk, all of that, and all areas in between. Hey, yes, Kitty, you had your opportunity to say what you need to say. Thank you. Um, and um, Today's Friday, so anything related to Friday also counts. Sorry. So today, if you guys are able to participate, join in live on YouTube or catch it later. Also catching it live on Twitch. And if you are part of Discord, you can join the Fantasy Grounds College Discord. Drop all the way down to the boiler room and check things out, because before we went live, some of our founding members popped in quite a number of bits and pieces from other intellectual properties, and I guarantee many of you out there will, if not know them, will have some familiarity with your own well-loved properties or something that include these concepts. So how do we take something pretty much related to magic and fantasy and mythology and bring it into science fiction? Well, the first thing is not to directly translate it. We think of the classic Medusa, woman, snakes in her hair, reptilian body from the waist down, and hiding in like ancient ruins or something, and turning warriors who are trying to kill her to stone. Well, even in science, lots of Latin and Greek are used to describe things that we found in nature, and there's no reason that we would stop doing that when we go into the far future, when we meet alien species or genetically modified, not modified animals, or genetic mistakes and experiments by both for good and bad and things like that out in the world. So if you take a look at the thumbnail, you'll see that I used I believe it's like a jellyfish illuminated with probably UV light or something of that nature. And yeah, and Robo's Robo Magon says in the Discord, like, psionics is usually the catch-all for space magic. It sure is. And it seems to be one of those things that we are able to we excuse it because we feel like, especially with science fiction, like that would be the next step for us. So it feels kind of cool that, like, oh well, magic, yeah, that's fantasy, but maybe one day we will have psychic powers or something. Maybe that's the next step in evolution of humanity. Even if they perform the exact same functions, just calling it something different seems to be something that we're okay with. And there's no reason why we wouldn't stop there with the Medusa. So let's break down some things that the Medusa may embrace, like the core essential value of this kind of monster creature, and then rip it apart and use it in science fiction. So the first thing is the look of the Medusa. Now, like a Tesla Ranger and Dead Man Storyteller popped into the Discord, some of the ideas that have been used with the Medusa is not necessarily its appearance as a woman with snakes, but an appearance that is so horrible, so psychologically damaging that they need to be hidden away, or that even looking at it or being in its presence will make you suffer some form of horror and make you maybe relive your past or drain your memories or something of that nature. So not a direct correlation of visual sight, but something related to it. And even the pseudoscientific idea of, something able to transform carbon and silicon or something like that, very, very much Philosopher's Stone style idea. And of course, you could steal that and take that and make that something in your world. Also, the idea that the Medusa is like a form of parasite that is able to latch onto someone, that to another biological being, and then that being exhibits the power, um, or that the Medusa is able to, because of the bonding of the parasitic nature, turns that biological creature into its workhorse, and then therefore the gaze of the individual that's been paraticized, it's not a real word, um, has the ability to, paralyze someone, or wipe their memories, or cause them to fall into a coma, or fall into stasis, or something of that nature. Also, um, yeah, and like Deadman says, Warhammer 40K uses both magic and psionics interchangeably, though the rules are the same for both. And currently today, not trying to segue too much, but it seems like 5th edition is going to do the same thing with their psionics. I know traditionally in Dungeons and Dragons that when psionics was introduced, it had its own rule set, and they had different books, and it had different rules. But with the system, with um, the design philosophy in 5th edition, um, just literally just calling it psionics and just using the same magic system, to me, is not a problem. I know some players out there are like chomping at the bit, or they're pissed off, or they're throwing their books down the steps like, this makes no sense. But yeah. Oh, thank you, Robo. See, every once in a while, like a broken watch, I'm right once or twice a day. But yes, the idea that you could take something that is arcane in one game and turn it into something like sci-fi or psionic in another game probably has a lot less to do with the rules and a lot more to do with what we call it. You know what I mean? Oh, Dante, what's going on there, man? Says a helmet with fiber optic automated eye laser tentacles could be mistaken for Medusa. Would be a super handy headgear. Yeah. Discovery did something similar with the Red Angel arc. I haven't seen Discovery, haven't followed that. But yes, you could very well have a technological device that operates like the Medusa's head almost, where, instead of using the direct optics forward from where your normal eyes would be, maybe they're like long tendrils or something. You can look into tight spaces around corners. Gives you a 360-degree vision. If it's an alien styled artifact, maybe it has a weapon system that's able to paralyze or put into stasis, or literally transform biological matter into something else that we would presume to be stone. Like, maybe, I don't know, what's fingernail made out of. Maybe we outwardly mistaken someone turned to stone, but really it's like the hyper growth mutation of something that happens, like your body being covered with your own fingernail material. I, Robo says, brings up a deadly neurotoxin. Yeah, hell yeah. Maybe the this thing, whether it's technological or it's biological creature, has some kind of neurotoxin that not only just affects your nervous system, it could affect it could affect your very thoughts or something. So yeah. Deadman says fingernails made of keratin, so maybe it causes the hyper growth of keratin on the surface of your skin. I mean, that's kind of what we love to do in science fiction, right? We're like, okay, what are some scientific uh, truisms, and then take that and like turn the volume up. So hell yeah. Um, It also says in Eclipse Phase uses psi, PSI, a word which originated from SCI, the predecessor to the CIA, attempting to improve human abilities. Um, are you sure about that? I figured that psi, PSI, just was came from, like, I mean, the idea of psychic abilities and psionics isn't new to, like, role-playing games or something. Robo says, kind of like chitin, so maybe an insectoid or chitin. Some people pronounce it. Yeah, why not? Could be an insectoid type of creature. Maybe it is a and of course, it doesn't have to be. Again, we talked about the arcane Medusa earlier in the week. This thing could be parasitic to biological creatures. It could be attracted to radiation or the energy given off from, like, engines from starships. It could be drawn to specific psychic wavelengths, maybe people in pain or sad. It could be drawn to large population centers, and it's and if you want to even push it into, okay, I get it. Deadman says the word originated from the Psi organization in the 1920s and 30s, talking about SCI, about improving improving the human condition. I did not know that. Oh, I did not know that. Dante says a dehydration beam would be good for extracting valuable water from foes. Leave a calcified body behind. Would be pretty safe to use aboard spacecraft. The Medusa rifle. Ooh. Ow. Ow. Although that would explain why so many starships don't have bathrooms in them. I'm gonna shoot my bladder with my Medusa rifle. um, yeah, I'm with Robo. Right, I always thought it came from Psyche. Uh, me too. Now, the if we want to really start to embrace the classic Medusa from mythology into a far, like, sci-fi thing, maybe there could be an alien species that has, say, like the mythological curse. There could be an advanced alien civilization that has that is out there to that is out there creating, uh, cursing or punishing other biological creatures so that they become the Medusa of their own species, right? Like, whether it is through arrogance or hubris or something like that. This could be something very Lovecraftian. I brought that up before, where these creatures could come from a far-off realm or adhere to starships because of traveling through wormholes, or the proverbial go to the alien planet and put your face over some mysterious egg as it opens up with lots of goo, and then it jumps out onto your face mask, and then of course people bring it back onto your starship without quarantining you. Yeah, it could be that. Yeah, Robo says genetic doomsday weapons like plague blankets in space. Sure, I mean, we as humanity have developed lots and lots of weapons, and of course, in the far future, those weapons, from anything from your firearm to nuclear weapons and everything in between, we don't know what other alien species would do to create a weapon that would spread the way they want it to. I mean, it's possible they could drop one seed down onto a planet for it to grow and expand, this parasite, this Medusa parasite, to kill off the population. And they could say, well, we'll come back in about couple thousand years or so, give or take, and see if they're wiped out or transformed or terraformed or something like that. So yeah, why wouldn't that be the case? You could also make the Medusa could be a very intelligent species, and they are, for whatever reason, um, encasing biological life, or putting them into stasis and maybe keeping them, like putting them into storage. Like, this could literally be a project that they're performing, and they could even cover their faces with special helmets or something, because they maybe they are much like what Tesla and Deadman put into the Discord, uh, maybe they understand that the lower species are the type of species that you can't even look them in the face because they are like fourth or fifth dimensional creatures, and if you took a look at them, you'd be driven insane, or your brain would explode, or you'd be pushed into a coma or something. So they wear things for safety, and maybe their mission is to take all of the biological life and put it in stasis because they understand that some other hazard's going to happen, like the galactic core is being absorbed into a black hole, and they intend on putting, hundreds of billions of life forms into stasis and moving them somewhere, and they don't have time to explain to you what they're doing. Of course, trying to do that one person at a time is a little ridiculous, but you get my point, right? They could be doing something they could be doing things that in their head and through their technology makes perfect sense, and rightly so. They're like, well, we're trying to help you out, but explaining that to the human beings might be pretty difficult, especially if they're doing something like, say, oh, I don't know, splitting a human head open and removing their brains and spinal cords or something. Yeah, humans are like, please don't do that to us. They're like, relax. Give 10,000 years, we'll give you your body back. But for right now, we're trying to put you into jars and get you out of the solar system or something, right? Robo says could be genetic beings that have to wear suits to contain themselves, kind of like the Vorlons from Babylon 5. Yeah, why not? The suits are their physical bodies, but if we were to see their energy forms, maybe we become radioactive, or like Dante said, massive and immediate dehydration could be a thing, like salt, but hyper caustic, or like salt or rice. I don't know, but once you're exposed to it, it's like a desiccating kind of thing where it draws all the moisture out of your body. Could be rumors could presume that they're like the Medusa or vampire or something. The salt monster from the original series from Star Trek. Yep. Dante says Medusa could be a cyber monster, a tech virus that infects robots and shuts down their motors and feeds off their data banks and power sources. Ooh, yeah, me likes that. Me likes that a lot. And that you could very easily make this a post-apocalyptic setting in a super sci-fi world, because these are cyber monsters shutting down technology and infecting it, like you said, infecting it with the virus, or removing the data. So maybe imagine Coruscant, but like 75% of a planet-sized city, none of the technology works. Like ships have fallen out of the sky, doors don't open and close automatically, force fields don't work. It's just like trash and debris from things that have fallen, and people were trapped into elevators and buildings that are hundreds of stories tall, and the PCs are running around trying to scavenge what few batteries are left and what data cores aren't corrupted or something. Yep. Robots could emit. Robo says robots could emit EM waves to paralyze organics. Again, electromagnetic waves, sonic waves would work as well. Maybe some form of external, like like you're saying, EM, like a neural electrical field that they emit, and if you get caught in it, unfortunately, like you get paralyzed, and the PCs need to discover or find or use devices to unparalyze the biological beings as the machines go around. As the machines go around grabbing individuals. Oh, you guys are bad. Brown notes. Deadman says or affected by an illusory. Why is my there it is blocking? Or affected by an illusory effect, making them look like perfect example of the viewer's race, like the Vorlons. Right, like maybe we are unable to look at them because our minds just wouldn't be able to accept it. So they have an illusionary effect over top of them so that we're able to at least kind of communicate. It could be a side effect as well of like a fifth dimensional species, and the side effect is that they paralyze us, or something even more horrible. But they don't intend to have harm. This just happens to be what their effect is. Or, again, going more Lovecraftian, biological life could be completely useless for them. They are of us in such a higher state of being that biological life is, like gnats or mindless animals or something, and our mere existence is an annoyance, and having us paralyzed, turned to stone, desiccated, or whatever actually makes it better for them, because we're biological noise, much like a fly buzzing around our ear. You know what I mean? And they're like, yeah, go away. We're trying to drain the core of your planet so that we can use the geothermal heat or something like that. Just go away. Yeah, Robo says the mind tries to make sense of the incomprehensible and creates an image it can comprehend. And maybe that image, if you wanted to make this, if you're a like Call of Cthulhu fan or horror fan or something, and you want to make this also sci-fi, the idea that you are seeing maybe a horror that is from your own guilt, your own background. Maybe a loved one has passed, or you committed some great harm, or you have a great regret or something of that nature. Could be a thing. And yeah, the Medusa look. Yeah, well, in the Eclipse phase role-playing game, they call it a basilisk hack with a computer virus that literally hacks your brain if you see the code. And so, yeah, the Medusa look, sure, why not? It could even be, this, you might find this kind of strange, but the Medusa look, the basilisk hack in your setting could have even been created by accident, like an anonymous styled hacker group or something literally created a virus that can hack the brain, and it got loose, or maybe some government or some corporation had this thing get loose, and now they can't bring it back. You can't look at the code because you'll be hacked that way, and then it just starts to spread, and then things just start to turn. They start to turn bad. Cars start ramming people in the streets. Elevators start locking people down. Communications. You start hearing voices of the long dead, and start hearing things that will make you do the unthinkable, taking your life or someone else's life or something. And maybe the PCs are running around with earphones and goggles on that allow them to be immune to it, but no one else is. Yeah, that would be kind of cool. Dante says the snakes could be symbiotic creatures like Stargate or Trek's Trill race, of course, and they could be such an insidious like snake-like symbiote or parasite that so in your setting, maybe you establish a handful, 5 to 10 different alien races in your world, in your intergalactic society. Okay, cool. And we all know how they act and how they interact, and for good or bad, we understand, right? And then you introduce this Medusa-like symbiote or parasite. Symbiote meaning it doesn't kill them, and parasite meaning at some point it will significantly harm or kill this other creature. And then it starts to throw everything that you already know about all the other alien creatures, including humans, into question. Their behaviors, their desires, and things like that. And then maybe the PCs, it becomes this long form conspiracy. Like, I think they're being mind controlled, and everyone's just like laughing at the PCs, like, you humans have been saying that forever. It's always a conspiracy. It's always mind control, And then behind the scenes, it's like, yeah, sure is. As the little symbiote is, I don't know, attached to the back of their neck, or or attached to their stomach, and simply sliding in and out of their navel or whatever. Scott Poe, hey, what's up, dude? Um, yeah, maybe it's also a possibility that the the original intention of the creature, if it's biological, or hell, even if it's mechanical, like a virus, computer virus or something, its original intention could have been for a good reason. We need to save humanity. Great. Let's make something that can quickly put people into stasis, so that we can, I don't know, travel the long distances through space and time or something like that. And maybe it just became corrupted, and the PCs wake up. You could do this as a one and done, where the PCs are your colonists and going into a sleep state to go to a far off realm, and then they wake up and like the interior of the ship's all destroyed, and panels, blinking lights, and red lights and loud klaxons going off, and they wake up out of their stasis and they see that a bunch of people were killed and whatnot, and basically the life support system could have gone crazy or been corrupted by radiation or something. Yep, Robo's like, remember those bug parasites from season 1 of the Next Generation, the finale? Yeah, the bug parasites. Yeah, why not? And and those bug parasites might, either they themselves are paralyzing people, or they are modifying the biological or mechanical functions around you to then enhance them so that it can do its job or whatever. I love it. I like the idea. And if we even pull on the thread of the original mythological Medusa. Remember, I said the reason we were talking about this, because I said I love Medusa because it embodies uh, so many different aspects that allow us to bring it into tabletop gaming. It is powerful. It's like a puzzle monster. I love puzzle monsters. You have to figure out how to get around it without looking at it. And then, of course, we're talking sci-fi, so you might have to wear, instead of just a visual threat, it could be audio. It might be radioactive. It could be electromagnetic. It could be any number of things. It could be you have to wear a special spacesuit. You have to wear special filters for your eyes. You might have to wear special earphones to block the sound dampening or something, anything like that. But also Medusa's creation in mythology was from like a curse or something, and so it's possible that this thing affects people in an emotional manner, symbiotically. So you can get, instead of the dominate the world or take over everything, alien, instead of the classic alien invasion, they're evil, we're good, we're going to destroy them all. Maybe instead it is a permutation of just people trying to become their best self, and on their way to try to become their best self, they are, their emotional state is hyper actuated, right? So they're not just angry, they are like bestial, or they're not just jealous, uh, they are out to, I don't know, destroy everything you've created on an individual basis. I don't mean intergalactically. I'm talking like one individual that's been affected by this one thing makes them act this one way. And one PC being affected by it might be completely different than another PC that's been affected by it. And you could have this idea where someone's been infected and they're trying to find a remedy for this situation, and they haven't been able to find the remedy for it. But at the same time, it's like a Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, where they, in very shrinking moments of lucidity, they are trying to find a cure. But when those shrinking moments are being taken over more and more by this alien parasite that wants them to, I don't know, infect the population or something, and they're going around like, I don't want to do this, their brain, but their body's acting in another way. Maybe very much like, I don't know if you guys have seen as an example, seen the movie Upgrade. It didn't get a lot of viewers, but it's a great movie. And the gentleman in it ends up getting attacked. He's paralyzed, and he has a device put into his spinal cord, basically just a small computer chip called a stem. And stem allows him basically send signals to the rest of his body through, and it's an AI system. And of course, if you see the trailer, it's like he's getting his ass kicked and he's paralyzed and stuff. And, well, not at the time he could walk, rather robotically. And Stem is like, I can help save your life. Please allow me to take over. He's like, you have to give me permission. He's like, go ahead, take over permission. And of course, he starts fighting, kicking ass and fighting because, of course, the Stem is an AI and can read the situation thousands of times faster than humans and allows them to start kicking ass. And so maybe this stem, this cybernetic implant kind of thing, or this AI starts spreading around to people, making them, or in their opinion, their best self, but to everybody else, they're like, whether they are emotionless killers, they are reprogramming, I don't know, air systems to make people pass out because they're going to take the space habitat and dump it into the sun because, it's what you do, right? The answer is always, well, because, right? I mean, there's so many ways we can go with it. And I think one of the great things is, I know this bothers player characters for me to say this to the GMs out there, but not having the answer up front and then introducing something like this to your players and then listen to your players try to decipher the meaning behind the actions of this computer virus or alien symbiote or whatever, you can then come up with a reason like, oh, the player characters have a better, your 5 players may have a far greater ability to be creative than you yourself by yourself. So you could introduce something and go, but I don't even know why these aliens are in my world, but if my players come up with a great idea, yeah, that'll be the answer. And so, and then just draw from that. So yeah, you guys know me. I'm here by myself, but I draw my creativity from you guys. So hive minds always win, which I don't know. The Medusa could be a hive mind itself. Robo-Magon says mercury poisoning. You're trapped in your own mind, unable to feel or move, but still conscious. Pretty horrifying. Yeah, and that is a lot different. No, not. Let me take that back. Mercury poisoning, where you are paralyzed inside of your body, but your body's doing something else, could mimic the effects of being petrified, right? You can't move, but you see your body saying and doing things to your friends and family and loved ones, and you're like, hell no! It's like you're trying to beat against you have no fist, but you're trying to beat against the prison that is your mind as this computer implant or virus or alien species or alien biological virus infects your body and you start saying and doing things you've never wanted to do. Yeah, that'd be kind of cool. That'd pretty horrifying. And especially if let's say you're like a major CEO or a major corporation and it gets you to go in, I don't know, download some kind of computer virus in the system, corrupting everything, taking out everyone's financial statements, and then walks you towards the closest window to jump out of it, and you're like, no! I ruined everyone's life and it's trying to kill me. That'd be pretty nasty. I love it. Scott Post says, reminds me of Shadowrun's move by Wire's guidance system, an awesome piece of do not install cyberware that gave all sorts of bonuses, but you were kind of out of control, prone to shooting first. Yeah, and visually, this could look pretty bad, right? Where you have like wires and cables attached to the spinal cord and cortical stacks of human beings, like literally plugged in through cables from the ceiling as their body is like moving, it's like spastically moving or something. But it could also be like you're saying, this could be like you're saying, a do not install cyberware system. Like, yeah, there's cyberware, and then there's this, and you don't want that, but there might be people who have either volunteered to be part of the system, or uh, they could be kidnapped victims, or people who unknowingly are part of this thing, where they are like part of this hive mind, and the PCs the PCs need to save the individuals, even though the individuals are very dangerous to them, right? So yes, I know a lot of players will want to shoot first and ask questions later, but the fear, the mission might be, these individuals are dangerous to me, but I can't shoot and kill them back because I need to extract the thing that's controlling them to get their real brains back, because I need those people to help us shut down this virus that's spreading around, or this, cyber system that's infected so many other people that thought this would improve their lives. And so that makes its own problems, right? Like, hey, we'll just shoot them in the head, and everyone's like, you can't do that. Those are the people that helped design the system. We need them to shut it down. Oh man. Yeah, Robo continues on to say, yeah, it's much more horrifying than something that just changes your mind into something else. Yeah, it's horrifying when you're sitting back as a spectator in your own body. Yeah. Tesla says maybe something like Fight Club. You have blackouts, or just when you're supposedly sleeping, where you find out you've been active, and you have to find out what you've been up to while you've been asleep. Ooh. Of course, the comedic version, well, Fight was a comedy, but the comedic version is like the Hangover movies. PCs wake up, and they're like, okay, what did we do yesterday? Damn it! And then and the whole mystery is, like you said, uncovering what the hell they've been doing while they've been asleep, while their loved ones are like blasting them on social media, and their boss is like, they've been kicked out of their apartment, and their boss is like, you're fired. Why are you back here? Other people are like, don't talk to me. The police are like, APB out on these individuals that robbed the place, and you're like, what the hell did I do? Deadman says, moved by wire cyberware implant put you into a constant state of seizure and used the cyberware to limit the movements that weren't wanted. Like, dude, where's my car? Yeah. What does your tattoo say? Sweet. What's mine say? What's yours say? Yeah. Yeah. Dude, where's my car? Yeah, dude, where is your car? I don't know. And then have to backtrack. Wow. That'd be kind of, you know what? You could, all right. So you could ask your players like a list of questions and make them very ridiculous, right? So increasingly ridiculous. So a minor ridiculous thing would be, give me 3 common things you would do during your day, but add a twist to it. Like, okay, you go to a coffee shop, but you order something that's not on the menu. Or you go to the supermarket, and you go to an aisle, and tell me you do something that's socially inappropriate. Yeah, Zoltan. Yeah, and then you assemble all, like, and you start to make these questions more and more lethal, dangerous, ridiculous, antisocial, criminal, and then you mix them all together, right? So you take it from one player, but then you start applying those things to something one of the other players did. So the players have an idea what happened when they were out, but they don't exactly know everything. So when they open up when they wake up and there's a chicken in their hotel room, and a naked Asian dude jumps out of the trunk of a car, and puts his genitalia into the mouth of one of the PCs, kind of, while he tries to beat him about the head and shoulders. One person will be cracking up, and the rest of them are like, "What the hell's going on?" There's even a small role-playing game called Everyone is John, and where everyone plays a personality Yep, Jekyll and Hyde scenario. Yep, and in Everyone is John, it's a small tabletop, slightly role playing game where everyone plays a personality inside of a person named John, and everyone is attempting to get John to perform an action, while the other players are also trying to get John to perform actions, and you're trying to be the first to get John to complete all of the increasingly ridiculous actions first before everyone else gets to do a thing. So it's like, I'm going to brush my teeth, and then someone's like, I'm going to stop you from brushing teeth, and I'm going to get a cup of coffee. Being John Malkovich. Yeah. Oh, kind of weird. I didn't think we would go down this path, but what if okay, follow me on this. What if the player characters, and I don't know how they get to this point, but what if the player characters, much like there was a TV show, I'm sorry, Netflix show called Travelers. So the player characters must inhabit the bodies and uh, being John Malkovich RPG. Is that a real thing? No. Oh, let me take that back. Dead Man wouldn't put that in there unless it's a real thing, and I did not know that was a real thing. But maybe the player characters uh, must be inside one or more individuals and take over their bodies to perform certain functions in the world. And so the player characters have a set of skills, but much like the television show Travelers, they had to take over the side of a body. The Travelers was a time travel show, but whatever the case may be, they go inside of the body of individuals that have died. That was the case for that television show. So you could have combat skills, but you might go inside of the body of a 14-year-old. Or you may Omen. What the hell are you doing here? I'm just messing with you too. But yeah. Or maybe the player characters, like, in order for them to go into the body of someone, it has to be someone with maybe a severe limitation. Robo says you inherit the skills of the host personality. Maybe, maybe not. Maybe the challenge is having the skill to tap into the skills of the host personality. Okay, so you go into the brain of a police officer, but you have to make, I don't know, adaptation skill rolls to pick things out of the police officer's memory, or use the firearm, or what specific police terminology to use when you're in trouble to call in for help or something. And especially if the player characters are from, say, a different time period, or they are part of a psychic uh, the player characters are part of a corporation or a program to go into a psychic realm. And unfortunately, Medusas of the future, hell yeah. And the player characters are all part of the psychic program, and then they all come to the realization that life will end at some particular time in the future, in exactly 1 year, 3 days, right? Yeah, like Quantum Leap, exactly. Different time periods, even, or leaping from the far future into our present day. So the player characters, you don't have to explain much, right? The player characters in modern day, you don't have to explain what modern day is, but you could have skill rolls to have them use abilities in modern day, and the individuals they're jumping into are aware that they are being ridden, maybe, or the player characters have to, you're disrupting the lives of real people, but you can only do it for a short amount of times to achieve a particular mission. So it it's not like you can become you quantum leap into people and you're just an instant badass. It could be that, much like the television show Travelers, they can only inhabit the bodies of people who have just died. So the reason that they died has a lot to do with the people that they encounter. For example, Oh yeah, Deadman says being John Malkovich RPG equals everyone is John. Yeah, it sure does. So the PCs, like for example, I think one character went into the body of someone who died from a drug overdose. So when they wake up, the PC has drug addiction. Now they understand they have drug addiction, and they themselves, from the time period in the future, don't have drug addiction anymore, but then they're trying to handle the drug addiction. So one of the other agents is like, and you're like, well, I can't seem to operate. My mind is foggy, and I have this addiction. So one of the other player characters is like, well, we're going to have to get you some drugs to get you to act right, because we need to finish this mission, right? It wasn't like we're going to find a cure for you, take a couple of months to get you. No, it was just like, no, we're going to find some drugs and pump it in your system because we need you at the peak, and it very well, you could go into people who, and I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but why not have player characters jump into people with some mental or physical, what we would consider disabilities, or they are in situations the player characters would prefer them not to be, but you can't help it. For example, oh, I don't know, you jump into someone that got their ass beat in a dark alley, and you wake up and you're like, oh, man, this hurts, but okay, and not realizing that there are criminals out there that are like, you owe us money, we're gonna beat your ass, and you're like, I don't know you, dude, and they're like, maybe we beat your ass a little bit too much because you still owe us like 50 grand from all those gambling debts. And you're like, what gambling debts? Which would be kind of cool to kind of go on a mission, but also have to decipher the background of the person you're in. Yeah. Scott Post says, Trancers with Jack Death. Remember that. People could go back in time, but only along their family lineage. So you would be in some ancestor, which could just be a kid. Yeah, kind of. I like that idea too. Like you're kind of playing. You're playing your own family lineage. So maybe you're playing people who are similar to you, but not exactly like you. And okay. People in your past were known to have done very strange things. Maybe one relative went to prison for robbing a bank. Another relative drove their car off a cliff. Yet a third relative was known to run down the street naked, screaming something like the world's going to end. And then come to find out that you yourself actually was the individual that went into the past to those family members from your ancestors